Hello everyone, I have Andre here from BrainyAnt, and
Hello.
welcome. So Andre, tell us a little bit about BrainyAnt. What do you guys do exactly?
Hi, I'm part of BrainyAnt, one of the co-founders. What we do there is we try to control robots over the internet and try to figure out a way for people not to go the distance if they need to have something done, but just access a robot and have that do it for you in a place where it's either hard to reach or it's dangerous to work.
Interesting. So you're telling me if I need a robot, for example, to, I don't know, get something from me from somewhere that's like maybe there's some kind of an accident, right? Like some radioactive accident.
Yeah.
I could control a robot remotely that would do things in a power plant, and I wouldn't have to be there physically.
Yeah, sure. It's one of the use cases we're thinking about. Factories, for example, where you need to do some maintenance, and let's say you're an expert in maintaining something, and something goes wrong. You don't actually have to go to the factory yourself, but you can access maybe a maintenance robot and see what's going on, maybe fix some stuff that's accessible via a robotic device.
Interesting. So like something more applicable to the real world than my example. Okay, and not so destructive. Okay, cool. And how did you guys come up with this idea?
Well, basically, we were trying to start something of our own, and we were figuring out what we like. We thought robots are cool, but the problem was that a robot is pretty expensive, and we couldn't get one. So then we thought, wait a minute, people who have robots don't use them all the time. What if they could make them available to other people? And since robots are all over the planet, why not give access via the internet to other people to use other people's robots?
Wow, and that from that idea you got to remote debugging in factories. Okay, that's an interesting use case based on the story you guys started from.
Well, we went through a few phases. Like it started from rent a robot, then it went to maybe an educational platform, and then we decided why constrain it? The use case could be whatever people need. And if the robots are available, then people will use them.
Interesting. And what stage is your product at? I mean, where are you guys with the product?
Well, at this moment, we have our platform, which is online, and people can register robots on the platform. Basically, anything that's built around the Raspberry Pi, you can make it available on the platform. Just register the robot and share access with whoever you want, and you can control it. And soon, we're going to start having Arduino-based robots available, and we're working on a coding tool, so you can't just, not only you can control the robot, but you can actually program it from a distance.
Interesting, and I could program the robot to do exactly what? Can you give me an example?
Well, if you have maybe, let's say an autonomous robot that is doing something, but it's not doing it exactly the way you want it to, and you want to update the way it's working. If you are able to program the robot from a distance, you can be wherever, work on the code, and just deploy it.
Okay, and let's say there's multiple users sharing the same robot, not at once, but you know, like I have it for 2 hours, then you have it for 2 hours, and then
Yeah.
somebody from the audience has it for another 2 hours. What happens to the code base? Is that all on the robot, or does it get automatically uploaded and downloaded depending on who's using the robot? How does it work?
Well, the code is on the robot because the robot is running it. What you're doing through the platform is accessing that code. You're running the commands. But if you are able to program it, then the robot will receive those new commands, which you will be able to access, and anybody else who is controlling the robot will access the same ones.
Okay, so the commands are somewhat shared between anybody who had access to program the robot.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds interesting. Now, I know you guys got some, let's say, media coverage and exposure last year after
Yeah.
Textilvania, where you guys actually won the startup avalanche there. and even more, you went to the US, I think, on a trip to Silicon Valley. Now, that had to be interesting. So can you share a few details on what happened on that trip?
Sure. We won Techsylvania, the startup Avalanche, and the prize was a trip to the US, to Silicon Valley, to talk to potential investors or partners and other companies. We went there this March. We were there for about 10 days, so not a lot of time, but in that time we managed to meet with a lot of companies and people who are interested in technology and especially in robotics. We got in touch with a network of people working in robotics there, and we got some very good feedback from companies that are focused on either industry or education or developing robots. We got some feedback from them in the sense that we wanted to see if our product was something that they could use, that was something valuable for them, for the use cases that they have. And yes, we got some good advice in that sense. We figured out some things we need to work on, what to develop in order to be attractive and viable for a partnership. We also spoke with some investors who also gave us some good advice on how to further develop our product. And basically met a lot of people who like technology and robots.
Okay. And based off your trip, did you encounter any other industries or applications of your technology, not necessarily the product that you have, but the technology and your know-how that may not have been obvious to you from the get-go?
Well, we were thinking before we went there of a lot of applications for industry, like we mentioned, maintenance robot in a factory. But in the educational sense, we spoke to one company which has online courses for robotics, and their need was to have access, to give students access to actual robotic hardware in order for them to test their code to see what they've learned. And in that sense, their solution was to ship a sort of standard robot kit to every student, but that was very costly. So in the case when we offer access via the internet to students to be able to deploy their code, that would be a solution for them. That was something we haven't thought about. And also, we also visited the European Space Agency, sorry. And they have an interest in controlling rovers, like they have a future Mars rover program. But they also want to do a sort of playground that's a simulation of the Mars or lunar surface, in which to have a controllable rover for maybe space enthusiasts like students, school kids, to explore around. A rover that is basically similar to a real one, so it has movement capabilities, but also lots of tools and instruments for analysis. Basically use it to teach kids about the actual Mars program.
That sounds interesting. So tell me a bit also about your challenges. I mean, you are two founders, right?
Yes.
And what are your skills as founders?
Our skills as founders, we're mostly technical people. We're basically programmers. What we're lacking is some marketing and business skills. Also, when it comes to the visual aspects, some design skills. We're trying to grow our team now. So we're looking for developers, but also marketing and business people to help us develop our product and develop our business. And we're also looking for a lot of testers and people who want to use our platform in order to grow a community and get some feedback on what we have. The challenge now is actually tapping into that community, because around here in Cluj, there might be a lot of people who are interested, but there's not an obvious community, so we're trying to attract a lot of people who want to play around with robots.
Okay, sounds like you have a few things you have to work on.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Can you tell me a bit about your, let's say, short-term plans, like 3 to 6 months from now? Anything we can expect from you guys? Any major release, change, update, team member, anything that you have planned that you can share with me?
What we have planned now is actually developing the coding tool that I was talking about. So get that available for everybody who wants to program the robot from a distance. We're integrating Arduino soon. So robots based on Arduino will be easily available on our platform. We're also working with a robotic arm that we're integrating. It's a very interesting device. It can pick up stuff. It has a pump. It has a laser printer, a 3D printer. It's pretty cool, and we're trying to get that working on the platform. If we do that, then we might have actually some more devices soon.
Okay, sounds very interesting. Like you're expanding your range of devices and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really cool. I'd say that pretty much covers all the questions I've had. I mean, I wish you guys like the best of luck, and I hope we see people controlling robots remotely a
Thank
lot,
you.
especially in the industry, like real use cases, people doing stuff. So thanks a lot, and best of luck again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And it's a wrap.